is a new day, the end of the 12-day war, the end of the Iranian nuclear program, and I really do believe the beginning of something very big for peace in the Middle East.
Developing tonight, the Trump administration announces a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. Iran's foreign minister, though, saying shortly after that there is no agreement, but will stop attacks if Israel halts its airstrikes. All of this coming just hours after Iran fired missiles at a U.S. military base. That military base is in Qatar. There are no reports of significant damage or injuries. Good evening. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Jana Katsuyama. There is a lot of uncertainty tonight about President Trump's claims of a complete and total ceasefire. President Trump announced the ceasefire on social media. And shortly after that, Iran's foreign minister said there is no agreement or any ceasefire or cessation of military operations. Iran said it would halt further action if Israel stops all airstrikes by a 4 a.m. local time deadline, which has passed. Israel has not acknowledged a ceasefire, but there are no reports at this hour of any further Israeli attacks. This follows Iran's firing of 14 missiles at a U.S. military base in Qatar. President Trump says 13 of those missiles were knocked down with air defense systems. Tonight, Vice President J.D. Vance spoke about the developing situation on Fox News.
The president really hit the reset button and said, look, let's actually produce long-term peace for the region.
There are still concerns about a possible attack on U.S. soil. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says her department is staying vigilant.
Continuing to evaluate every single threat and to proactively go after them before they do anything or take any activity.
Earlier on the 4, we spoke with national security expert Lieutenant Colonel Hal Kempfer about the fast-moving developments, including the announcement by President Trump of an apparent ceasefire.
Not quite sure how long it'll keep going. Not sure if it'll stay in place, but that's where we are right now. And part of the reason is because Israel was starting, I mean, sounds a little cynical, but they had prosecuted most of the targets they wanted to prosecute us, from what I understand. So they actually had kind of hit a culmination point in terms of that. So we'll see how this goes.
He added that Israel and the U.S. now will be working with their intelligence networks to determine exactly what remains of Iran's nuclear program. People against the U.S.'s involvement in the conflict are demanding to be heard. Several anti-war protests are happening right here in the West. We spotted demonstrators gathering over the weekend in Oregon, Arizona, and California.
More war!
One of those protests was in Portland, Oregon. People who showed up carried signs, gave speeches, and one man who participated said he is worried for his family who is still living in Iran.
The internet is shut, and so they don't have any access. We used to have a family WhatsApp channel, which is not working anymore.
Protests also happened over the weekend in nearby Vancouver and Washington. A possible ceasefire is welcome news for many of those demonstrators. Fox 10's Ashley Rodriguez continues our team coverage of this conflict with reaction from veterans in the West.
The American people reacting to the United States government dropping bombs on Iranian nuclear facilities over the weekend. From Boston to Washington, D.C., Atlanta, New York City, and here in Phoenix.
Got to come out and do something. Got to be on one side of history. Make sure you're on the right side.
The national organization Veterans for Peace now calling on all peace and social justice coalitions to work together and organize active protests, demanding the Trump administration refrain from any further aggression against Iran.
But I just think, my God, this is the American president that put our troops in harm's way.
Veteran naval nurse Susan Schnall served in Vietnam and empathizes with active duty service members who have war fatigue and are still suffering from PTSD after 2 decades of fighting in the Middle East. She says some feel they are being dragged into war based on deliberate deception.
We, the United States, have triggered conflict with Iran and made it into a hot war. And as somebody that took care of people who were actually harmed in the American war in Vietnam, it is devastating.
Arizona's leaders who served reacting, with Army vet Abe Hamadeh in support of Trump and Marine vet Senator Ruben Gallego against. Naval vet Senator Mark Kelly writing, the next steps must be to work to contain this, deter Iran from retaliating and escalating further, and use every diplomatic tool possible to protect Americans and our interests. And it seems that's the track that President Trump is now taking. We're going to see how this situation develops in the days and weeks to come. Reporting, Ashley Rodriguez, Fox 10 News.
On Wall Street, stocks ended higher as investors monitored the unrest in the Middle East. The price of oil fell today as analysts said they do not expect supplies to be significantly impacted by this conflict between Israel and Iran. The Dow was up 374 points, the Nasdaq jumped 183 points, and the S&P 500 gained 57 points. Shares of Tesla were up more than 8% after its limited test run of long-promised robo-taxis in Austin yesterday. And our coverage of the Middle East conflict continues online. You can head over to westcoastwrap.com for updates on the back and forth between the countries. Today, a procession through West Los Angeles honored the life of an LAPD sergeant who died on the job. Sergeant Xiu Deng died this morning after stopping to help someone who crashed a pickup truck on the 405 freeway. The driver of a gray sedan struck him and the truck as he responded. Emergency crews rushed him to a hospital where he was pronounced dead. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass says it is a sad day for the city.
Officers, women and men who put their lives on the line every day. And the sergeant was an example of somebody who lost his life attempting to save others. My heart goes out to his family. My heart also goes out to all of the officers that served with him.
He died a hero. He was out there caring for others, putting their safety before his own. And he is somebody that we will all look to as an inspiration as we carry on the mission.
The person in the pickup truck died at the scene. The driver of the sedan was taken to a hospital with minor injuries. Investigators said there was no evidence of impairment. The California Highway Patrol is handling this ongoing investigation. Tonight, officials said the last victim has been found from a boat that capsized during a sudden storm on Lake Tahoe. The bodies of all 8 people who died have now been recovered. That boat flipped over Saturday late afternoon with 10 people on board as strong winds and 8-foot waves battered the lake. 2 people are in the hospital. The El Dorado County Sheriff's spokesman said an investigation will determine whether those boaters were wearing life vests. And hundreds of first responders are working to slow the spread of 2 wildfires in Utah tonight. Coming up, we'll take you to one community where more than a dozen homes have already been lost.
And in weather, here's our live camera up in Seattle. You can see some haze out there with a current temperature of 73 degrees. We'll update the forecast coming up after the break.
And a milestone for the A's today. We'll tell you how they broke ground on a new ballpark, which they'll call home in Las Vegas.
2, 1.
A party-like atmosphere for the A's in Las Vegas. The team reached a major milestone today with a ceremonial groundbreaking for its new ballpark on the Strip. A ceremony featuring former A's player owner John Fisher and baseball commissioner Rob Manfred was held this morning. A's players, all of the front office staff, the new ballpark will be located on the Las Vegas Strip at a site where the Tropicana Hotel and Casino once stood before it was demolished.
You know, I don't want to get too emotional here when I talk about the commissioner of baseball, but when I sat down with the commissioner and he said, hey, we're going to make this happen, you know, he never wavered.
The Athletics currently are playing at Sutter Health Park in West Sacramento. The team is planning to have its home opener in Las Vegas in 2028. A U.S. Marine veteran is speaking out after a video surfaced of his father being arrested by Border Patrol agents outside an IHOP restaurant in Orange County. The veteran's father is a landscaper, 48-year-old Narciso Barranco, who was an undocumented migrant. Barranco's son, Alejandro, a Marine vet, says that his father is now in ICE custody in Los Angeles. His son says his father has no criminal history.
Worried for him, we're hurting for him. But we're also here strong and hoping to get him out.
The Department of Homeland Security says agents followed their protocols and offered medical aid, which Barranco declined. The Supreme Court has given the Trump administration the green light to resume fast-track deportations of migrants to countries other than their homelands. The decision lifts a lower court order that had blocked the policy. The case made headlines after 8 convicted migrants were flown to South Sudan, defying a judge's earlier ruling. The move is part of the Trump administration's broader immigration crackdown. And an update tonight to the ongoing legal battle between Governor Newsom and the state and the president over the deployment of California National Guard troops to Los Angeles. Both sides have filed briefs with the U.S. District Court in San Francisco. On Friday, Judge Charles Breyer asked the lawyers to argue if he should maintain jurisdiction over the case. Trump's attorneys argued the appeals court ruling in their favor takes the case out of his hands, while the state's lawyers contend there are parts of their claim that were not addressed by the appeals court, including the length of deployment and alleged violations of law. It is unclear when Judge Breyer will issue his next order. Well, satellites are picking up images of destructive wildfires in Utah. This video posted online shows smoke billowing from the France Canyon and Forsyth fires. Combined, the wildfires have charred more than 30,000 acres near the Utah-Arizona state line. The smaller of the two fires has already destroyed 13 homes in the small community of Pine Valley. A lightning strike started the Forsyth fire on June 19th. Now, 400 firefighters are working to slow the spread of flames. People who live in the fire zone are saddened by the destruction they see. Governor Spencer Cox toured the area yesterday, says he's confident the community will recover.
People of Washington County are hardy people. You didn't get here by accident, and you didn't stay here unless you could handle it.
Well, when you love a place like this, it's a tragedy to see it go up in smoke.
The Forsyth fire has burned more than 7,000 acres. There is no containment. Utah's largest fire has burned more than 23,000 acres of brush. The France Canyon fire is tearing through rough terrain in the Dixie National Forest. A lightning strike started that fire on June 11th. Crews have flames about 10% contained. Well, imagine calling temperatures around 100 degrees a cool down. That is the situation in Phoenix today. Here's a live look at the city where temperatures are cooler than normal for this time of year. Let's bring in KTVU Chief Meteorologist Mark Tamayo now, who has been tracking conditions across the West.
Hi there, Jana. Yeah, still the heat continues, but at least we're not talking about that intense heat out in portions of the West. As you can see, this was Phoenix today, 104 degrees, and you can see the average high 106, so actually a little bit below the average, and thankfully not close to that record high of 116 degrees. Take a look at some of the numbers across the West for today. Tucson, Arizona, 99 degrees. Palm Springs in the upper 90s. Sacramento up in Northern California, 94. And Redding in the mid-90s. As we do check out the satellite here and the radar, little system approaching the Pacific Northwest. That'll bring in some cloud cover throughout the day on your Tuesday. So those clouds will be thickening up. In fact, this was the camera today up in Seattle showing you a bit of some haze. Temperature of 77 degrees earlier this afternoon. And then in San Francisco showing you a big batch of fog trying to push back over San Francisco Bay. Temperature of 64 degrees. So the current numbers out there right now, it's 91 degrees in Las Vegas. We have San Francisco 57. Still a warm 80 degrees in Portland and Seattle right now 73. As you can't pick out the satellite and actually the radar. In fact, there's a satellite and the radar showing you some of the clouds, at least approaching the coastline of Oregon and Washington. And then there you can see the marine layer clouds of the fog for San Francisco down toward the Los Angeles area. And then Denver right now, some clouds moving in and also some scattered thunderstorms will be a factor in the forecast for tomorrow. So here is the overall weather outlook for tomorrow. Increasing clouds for Seattle. It's a warm day in Southern California. It's a hot forecast once again in Phoenix. Just thankfully we're not talking about that that real extreme heat. And then thunderstorms out in the Denver area for your Tuesday. Here is the forecast model. It does show the cloud cover moving towards Seattle tomorrow. For the San Francisco Bay Area, low clouds and fog in the morning, trying to clear back to near the coastline. And you can see all the clouds and the thunderstorm potential out toward the Denver area in your Tuesday forecast. Here's a look at the numbers for tomorrow. As you can see, the breakdown: Concord in the Bay Area, upper 70s, Santa Clarita in Southern California, 83 degrees, and still close to 100 degrees for Tucson and Scottsdale tomorrow afternoon. So over the next 3 days, Seattle will thicken up the clouds tomorrow. Rain chances for Wednesday and Thursday. Lots of stubborn cloud cover for the Bay Area for Tuesday and possibly into Wednesday as well. For Southern California, clearing skies, and then out toward Denver, they have that thunderstorm icon, a bit of an unsettled weather pattern over the next couple of days. Still talking about triple-digit heat out in the Phoenix area, but thankfully it's not like last week, but still 103 to 106 degrees over the next few days. So tracking some rain chances and then also some heat across parts of the West over the next few days. Jen.
All right, sure could use a little bit of that rain.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mark. Well, a group of correctional officers has filed a complaint against the Bureau of Prisons, saying they are being unfairly evicted from their San Francisco Bay Area mobile home park. The park, with about 20 units, is on federal land near FCI Dublin Prison. That prison has been closed for more than 1 year now following a sex abuse scandal. The residents, who are still employed by the Bureau of Prisons, say they are facing eviction by Labor Day. We spoke with one man who has lived there for 13 years in a mobile home that he owns. He says he has nowhere else to go.
I want the Bureau to do right by us. They know that we're stuck up on this hill. They've offered us no assistance, no help, no communication. We have not received any kind of communication from anywhere, not region, not central office.
The Bureau currently takes that officer, Armando Sandoval, to a federal prison near Merced by bus. That is a 4 to 6 hour trip. The Bureau of Prisons declined to comment on the eviction complaint, citing pending litigation. Well, the restaurant In-N-Out is expanding in the West. Coming up, the next state where the fast food giant plans to serve up its famous burgers. And a Washington mother opens up about her quick action to save her son from a burning car.
I didn't even have time to think, really. I was just kind of in shock, but scared at the same time.
A pregnant mother in Washington faced a frightening situation when her vehicle caught on fire with her son inside. Juliana Magliano says she had just pulled over on the side of the highway near the city of Stanwood when her truck suddenly caught on fire. Magliano says she had only minutes to react and save her 3-year-old son, who was strapped to a car seat in the back.
I didn't even have time to think, really. I was just kind of in shock, but scared at the same time.
Magliano says that she does not know what started the fire, but she says her son and she are both doing well after this incident. Utah Senator Mike Lee says he plans to alter his proposal to sell more than 2 million acres of public land in the West. He included the proposal that would affect 11 Western states in a recent draft of President Trump's budget bill. After facing backlash, he posted to social media saying, quote, "I'll be making changes in the coming days." Fox 13's Lauren Donovan has a breakdown of some of the land that could be put on the market.
If you live in the Pacific Northwest, odds are your social media feed is inundated with posts like these. Warning, this lake, this waterfall could soon hit the market under the so-called Big Beautiful Bill before Congress that pledges to sell off millions of acres of American public lands. I wanted to know, is what I'm seeing true? I turned to U.S. Senator Patty Murray.
Here in Washington State, that means more than 5.4 million acres of land for sale.
Who, as you can hear, is seriously concerned about it. And now that I've got my hands on this official list, I can tell you with certainty that this place, the Middle Fork of the Snoqualmie River, could be for sale. Let's take a look at the rest. Many of the places Democrats are worried will go up for grabs are not the national parks themselves, but the gateways to them. And Senator Murray is not alone in calling this out. Washington's other senator, Maria Cantwell, is slamming President Trump's budget too.
My state, obviously, we like public lands. It's a juggernaut of an economy.
Here locally, DNR lands would be exempt. That includes the highly popular Mailbox Peak Trek, though it does sit in the Snoqualmie Middle Fork Recreation Area just outside of North Bend. But hey, keep on driving down this road and you'll run into what could be fair game.
Maybe the largest highly used recreational area close to Seattle. So the idea that it would be carved up with development is, to me, is kind of a crime.
If we zoom out, we see nearly 4,700 miles of hiking trails could be auctioned off. And turns out local ski areas sit in the crosshairs too. We're talking Crystal, Alpental, Mount Baker, and part of Stevens Pass. But could auctioning off these wildlands to developers or loggers help pull America out of a giant debt hole?
Yeah, I hope no logging right in the recreational areas. I mean, Washington, we build things out of wood, so it's kind of hypocritical to say no logging.
Hiker Hal Hamilton wants to put politics aside.
Conservation is not it shouldn't be a liberal Democrat issue. I mean, Teddy Roosevelt helped create a lot of the parks, and Ronald Reagan and Richard Nixon, protected land from development. It's not a Democrat issue. It's a people loving nature.
Reporting at the Middle Fork, Lauren Donovan, Fox 13 News.
Utah Senator Mike Lee has suggested that selling off some of that land could be used for affordable housing construction or infrastructure projects. Kroger is downsizing after its failed merger with rival Albertsons. The grocery chain has also ousted its CEO and plans to close 60 underperforming stores out of more than 1,200 nationwide over the next 18 months. Workers at the closing locations will be offered jobs at other Kroger stores, according to the company. Kroger has not said if stores in California will be affected. Well, if you're planning to travel next week for the 4th of July holiday, you will not be alone. According to AAA, a record 8.9 million Californians are expected to travel domestically during the 4th of July week. That is up 2.4% from last year. Nationwide, 72 million Americans are projected to travel 50 miles or more from home for Independence Day. Well, just off I-5 in Ridgefield, Washington, about 2.5 hours drive from Seattle, there is some excitement heating up as the state's first In-N-Out restaurant gets ready to open. One local superfan posts updates weekly.
I appreciate their friendliness. I appreciate the way that they keep the place clean, and they make it a great experience for anybody that goes.
Crews say they are putting in the finishing touches on this new location, and fans are buzzing online with more than 10,000 members in a dedicated Ridgefield Facebook group. Now that tables have been installed, fans are hoping that the opening could happen any day now. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. You can stay up to date on all of the stories we're covering online, including the latest developments on the Iran-Israel discussion and whether there will be a ceasefire or not. We are also tracking other news shortly, and we'll have an update at 7:30 on KTVU. Just go to westcoastwrap.com and stream all of our shows on your smart TV by downloading the Fox Local app. We look forward to seeing you for the next West Coast Wrap.